So the laser does a pretty good job, but it doesn't cut through every section. And I think that's because of how the leather sits on the laser machine. Your kit comes with a laser cut sling pouch and about 7 feet of paracord. We'll open up our cord and match up the ends so that we can find the center point. There we go, and then we'll give it a little snip. And now we want to fuse a bead at each end. It should look about like this. Next, I'll grab one side of my sling pouch. I'll do left over right, left over right. I'll line up the holes and I'll thread my fused end through. From here, imagine that you take your free end, you wrap it around your standing end, and you tie an overhand knot. Now this isn't going to hold, so instead we're going to go around 2 times. Here's once, and then twice, and now we're going to do just like we were tying an overhand knot, passing it underneath. We'll pull that tight, and this is what's going to secure one side of our sling pouch. We just want to make sure we bring it down so that our little stopper bead is at the end. There we go. And I'll slip that down. One side is done. Same thing on the other side. Left over right, left over right. I'll line up my holes and take my fused bead and thread it through. Now I'll take my free end here. I'll wrap it underneath. I'll go all the way around, and I'll go underneath this X that you see on top. Pass that through. There we go, get both of them. And then we'll dress it up so that this end is flush up against the knot we just tied. Looks like this one's going to need a little bit of convincing. There we go. Pull it tight and cinch it into place. Now that we have the cradle for our sling, let's move on to the other ends. You'll see I have soot in my hands. That comes from the laser cutting process. Now, all you have to do is wash that off with some soap and water, and it'll come right off. We'll fuse another bead at one end. We'll snip off the excess inner strands, and then we'll do the same thing just like we did before. Now we'll pull a bend into our cord. We'll grab the standing end and give it an ignition twist. We'll take our free end, go from underneath and through, around the tree, and then back down and pull it tight. This is a simple bowline. Adjust this as needed so that you have enough room to slip your hand through and grab onto your sling. Now I need to measure where I'll tie my release knot along with my loop. I'll do that by placing my hand through, resting the cord on the back of my wrist, and bringing it up and pinching it with my fingers. I'll grab my sling pouch, line up the edges, pinch the strands together, and I'll keep pulling down until I run out of slack and I'm tight up against my wrist. There we go. Now here's my free end, and right where I'm pinching is where that knot is going to go. And I'll do that by keeping my fingers pinched where I measured. I'll roll my cord towards me, roll it towards me again, and where I'm pinching in my left hand, I'll pull it out through that loop. There we go. You should have something that looks like this. The last couple steps, I'll take my free end and I'll pass it through that loop, pull it as tight as I can up against the knot, and I'll pull down and collapse everything together. And this gives me a nice stopper knot that I can hold on to as I sling my pouch. Let's get this trimmed off. Here I'm shooting a tennis ball. Make sure that you're being responsible with what you're shooting and where you're shooting at. But I'll place it right into my sling, get my wrist on there. Everything should line up so that when I swing it around, I can release it and give it a good toss. When you start learning how to use this, I would recommend that you throw it up, and as you come up, you go up and around and release it. Now you just want to be careful, because if this does not release and it's still stuck in your sling pouch, you can hit yourself in the back of the head, and that makes for a bad day. Also, just be cautious that you don't launch things that are too heavy too soon, because you can hurt your shoulder. Now we're going to try about a golf ball size rock. Thanks for watching. If you'd like one for yourself, there's a link in the description, and if you order in November, I'll include a tennis ball with every sling pouch.